What follows in this book is exactly that. Arthur and Susanna, with their team at Matheson, have trudged the startup trenches familiar to many of us to build the insights and tools we need as the next generation of founders, executives, and HR professionals to grow diversity in our organizations. In DEI, many of the challenges we warn founders and executives about have names like unconscious bias, meaning some part of the problem we are setting out to solve may require software that eliminates our human fallibility. Other challenges, however, the ones founders face in an era of increased awareness like hiring diverse teams, are just good old-fashioned HR implemented in a new way. What follows are practical recommendations for founders, executives, and HR professionals and the broader team to implement exactly those systems for their organizations. As a passionate believer in the power of good HR policy and operations to help companies succeed, it is clear to me that one day what we call diversity and inclusion won't need a name. We'll just call it HR. I believe this because I believe human resources, people operations, or any name we choose to call it, will retain the same core function, helping businesses and employees build a healthy, safe, and mutually thriving relationship. I believe this because 200 years of U.S. history show us that when workers are thriving, no matter what their model of unionization, autonomy, or equity, the standard of employee-employer relationship changes our broader culture, too. Which is to say, if you'd like to see the future of the United States, to quote a trite phrase of middle management everywhere, you'll need to talk to HR. If you're interested in building the future of our workforce, however, I'd like to personally invite you into what follows. I am certain it's a brighter future, and I'm continually inspired by everyone who aims to make it that way. I can't wait to see you there. Judith Williams, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, SAP. Preface. One of the greatest joys of my career has been to bear witness to the accelerating evolution of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, DEIB, as a maturing industry. It began years ago, with mere whispers about diversity circulating within the corporate vocabulary, mainly focusing on gathering data about representation and how workforce demographics might be retooled to more accurately reflect the diversity of the talent pool and the marketplace. Then, the conversation shifted toward inclusion, or how existing talent, particularly those who are underrepresented and who hold marginalized identities, feel on a day-to-day basis, and what level of trust they hold toward the organization. Next, equity and belonging entered the conversation, raising the critical but as yet unasked questions of systemic support and psychological safety as they relate to identity and expression. And still, our field continues to expand and broaden, with explorations of what justice might look like on the heels of a year like 2020, where the call for change crested and the hard questions became our North Star. Let me begin by saying that the time for all of these things, diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging, and yes, justice, is now. The call for accountability and empathy at work has always existed, but it is undoubtedly louder than ever before. I believe each and every one of us can think of a recent event, movement, personal anecdote, or news story that throws into stark relief the need for systemic change. But I also believe many of us have been confused about how we can better support that change. As a diversity and inclusion consultant with over 15 years' experience in the field, I have witnessed the vast majority of leaders delegate their responsibility around DEI work. They've outsourced the accountability and the labor to people of color, women, and other marginalized groups within their organizations who they believe can and should carry the water because of how they identify, even though there is often less structural power among these identities and sometimes the smallest numbers to throw behind efforts. This is particularly dangerous at our